the U.S. Embassy is currently
Yes.
hosting a watch party of the race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Now, let's get the latest on the ground with One News anchor Regina Lay live from Makati.
Hey, Regina.
Hi guys, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Wow, that's a pretty heavy conversation you're having right there. But
It's pretty
yeah.
exciting, Regina. I just forgot to bring out the popcorn.
Well, we have
you know what?
pastries
I've
here.
got a prop for you here.
Oh,
Wow. So what's happening
How do you
there?
like that, huh?
You look
nice.
good.
Well,
Oh, wow.
it's too big for my.
It's too big for you.
But
Covering
Regina,
my eyes. But
Regina, does
yeah,
that
it's
festive
pretty
hat?
fun.
Does that festive hat represent the festiveness of that watch party?
Absolutely. You know, you keep talking about how this election campaign has been dark and divisive and polarizing. But in here, you wouldn't have been able to tell because everyone is just in high spirits. I don't know. I'm going to pan the camera so you can see a little bit. So there's a bit of a lag
Wow.
because of the number of people here. So that's to my left. And this is to my right now. So it's all very festive, and everywhere you go here, people are just laughing and chatting and catching up and eating and drinking. Not many people are talking about politics. People are just having a generally good time. And again, that's what I was saying. It's not really reflective of, what it is on the ground in the election at the polling centers. But then again, this is just a watch party, right? So it is supposed to be fun. It is a time for people to catch up. We've seen a lot of people from the familiar faces in the business community, in the diplomatic community as well. I just bumped into the papal nuncio to the Philippines, Father Charles Brown. Former Singapore Ambassador Gerard was also here. The new chairman of the Overseas Filipino Commission, the chairman of Manila Times, Dante Plink Ang, was also here. So again, it's a good mix of people from the business side and the diplomatic side, and everyone's generally just having a good time.
Yeah. How long will it go on for?
Well, we started at around 8:30. I don't think people are expecting. Well, I mean, at the start, people weren't so interested in the big screens that are showing the voting results. You can see some of the big screens again
There you
at the
go.
back, right? So those are tuned into live streams of Bloomberg to CNN. So people do have a good idea of who's winning. I just had a quick look at the map. I know Trump is up 162 to Kamala 62 last I checked. But I don't think people are really waiting for the results from the swing states, for instance, from the 7 swing states that you guys were just talking about. At the moment, it's, I would say that for them, it's a good chance to take a breather from the very
tension.
divisive political talk, right? So again, this is just all about people talking about what they're doing, what their dates have been. I was just talking to somebody, a former ambassador, about his holiday. He's here on holiday. So again, I don't know if that's a conscious thing that people are just trying to steer clear of election talk, but certainly the spirits out here is quite high.
I'm sure you said not many are paying attention to the screen, but at least are they paying attention to Pennsylvania?
They are. Oh my gosh. So it's we knew this was going to be the case coming in, that it's going to be razor thin margins. The only key, I mean, as you were talking to Ronald earlier, he mentioned the fact that whoever takes Pennsylvania has an upwards of a 90% chance of winning the White House, right? And that's a statistic that most people here that I've talked to are aware of. So they know Pennsylvania is going to be the one to watch. But it's too close to call right now, right? I don't know. It's not clear to us at this point just how much longer it'll take to call Pennsylvania. But I also overheard a little bit of conversation you were having with Richard earlier. With Richard.
Yeah.
And he was saying that Donald Trump is doing a little bit better than expected, and Kamala Harris is doing a little bit worse than expected, although it could still swing either way. And that's certainly true. One of the people here, one of the attendees here that I was talking to, expressed real surprise at how strong Trump's showing has been. And he's this is a very the person I was talking to was a judge, and he was like, I'm surprised at the turnout for Donald Trump, considering the last 3 years or 4 years, that he's been out of the limelight, right? Considering that the fact that he's technically a convicted felon.
That's right. I was wondering, based on the people that you have talked to there, can you tell us or share with us the major changes that we can expect between the U.S. and the Philippines relations if Trump wins?
Well, I have spoken to, well, there was a media scrum, what we call a media scrum, a pull aside with the ambassador, the U.S. ambassador to the Philippines, MaryKay Carlson, earlier. And as expected, she talked about how we're not really expecting any changes, regardless if it goes blue or it goes red. And that's to be expected from someone of her stature, right? She's not supposed to go either way. She talked about the very strong bipartisan support for the U.S.-Philippines relationship. Again, emphasis very strong, she said. She said it was, anyway, Congress who controlled the purse strings in terms of financing some of these initiatives that we have on the ground. So, for instance, the EDCA side, for instance, the plan to build up a Luzon economic corridor. It's Congress anyway. And again, Congress, within Congress, there's strong bipartisan support, is what she's saying, for a continued continued strengthening of Philippines-U.S. relationship. She says there's just as many Republicans as there are Democrats who support strengthening not just the military relationship with the Philippines, but also the trade and economic side of it. Earlier this year, we saw, the presidential trade mission come out here, led by the Commerce Secretary of the U.S., and wherein they pledged to help the Philippines integrate better into the global semiconductor supply chain. And again, that's something that most of the diplomats that we've spoken to feel will carry on regardless of who wins this race. And again, U.S. Philippines on very strong footing, according to U.S. Ambassador MaryKay Carlson.
All right, Regina, Richard here has a question for you.
Well,
Hi,
am I
Rich.
missing something? I was supposed to be there. Can you get me a hat, extra one?
They took you away from this fun place. And,
I missed a nice hat, just in case. Yeah. Jeez, there's a lot to talk about. Yeah.
Rich, what do you have?
Well, you're talking about the bilateral relations.
Yes.
Honestly, okay. I think there's every reason to be optimistic about bilateral relationship. I think among all U.S. allies, if not all major regional states players, we're going to be the first class cabin, just in case Trump wins, right?
Yeah.
Precisely because, first of all, on the personal level, the Marcoses, it's ties that bind, right? Imelda and Trump were like social buddies back in the day. They spent a lot of time in Manhattan. And, supposedly the Marcoses also owned a Trump, I think, Wall Street building back then. So I think at the personal diplomacy level, Marcos Jr. is not going to have any problem at all. The reason I'm saying that is because there's some supporters of the former president who hope that Trump will save them. I don't know where on earth they get this wild idea. It's like Trump cares about where Duterte is nowadays. But anyway, Marcos has a great relationship with the Trumps, and I think there'll be no... But more importantly, the U.S. is invested in the Philippines big time for the long haul. If you put weapon systems like Typhoon missile systems here, if you're going to expand your EDCA presence here, this is real estate property investment for the U.S. And Trump will be even more invested in pushing the envelope. So I think absolutely agree that there's not only bipartisan consensus, but even a Trump administration could be even more invested. We had some of the people who could end up at senior position like Elbridge Colby here on our shows here on One News before. He's very strong. Together with O'Brien, the former National Security Advisor, Trump, they're openly arguing you have to support Philippines as a frontline state, almost like Israel, almost like Ukraine. That is music to the ears of a lot of Filipino strategic elites. So you talk to Filipino strategic elite, a lot of them are leaning probably towards Trump or will be happy to have someone like Trump around precisely because of those things coming out. But the big question is not only Trump himself. What version of Trump are we going to get? This is not the same Trump back in the day. If you watch his interview with Joe Rogan, he was very clear that
Right.
back then he didn't know what he was doing. It was surreal. This time he will do his own thing. So what does that mean? The people is going to bring, the MAGA people is going to bring, Schedule F people is going to bring in thousands of loyalties. But more importantly, you cannot isolate what happens in the Philippines from what happens in the rest of the world. If he goes and imposes, I don't know, 60, 100% tariff on China, that will have a ripple effect. Will affect the Japanese, Korean economies who are tied to China,
Yeah.
affect supply chains in Southeast Asia. We're not going to be isolated from that. If he goes to the Middle East and sleepwalks into war, major war there, in behalf of his friend Bibi, then that's going to affect us, because a big war in the Middle East means Russia and China will get involved there so that they'll have their cake here in their own regions. Russia would love Putin to win because, Russia would love Trump to win, because, Trump has taken quite a different position in Ukraine. But China may want Trump to get into something in the Middle East, because that means the U.S. will not be able to. So that's my problem, that there are a lot of premises there which may not hold once reality kicks in. That's why Trump is a big bet both ways. It could go very wrong or go very right, except we have no choice on that bet. All we can do is to watch it. For Kamala, she's a known commodity. She has been there. She has great relationship with everyone. When she visited here in November 2022,
Yes.
she went to Palawan. She visited Philippine Coast Guard. She is a daughter of Asia too. She spent a lot of time in southern India, Kerala,
Exactly.
her mom's side. She understands this region instinctively. So I think it's quite reasonable to say either way we're going to win. It's just a question of, are we going to win bigger? Maybe with Trump bigger, but the risk side is also higher. So it's looking very much like a stock market situation
I
here for us.
understand the optimism, and I understand the very careful, modulated responses that the diplomatic community has been giving me whenever I ask what the outcome for the Philippines will be if blue wins or red wins, right? So I understand why they're in the middle about this. But you hit it on the head when you said the question is, what version of Trump are we going to get? And this is a Trump, remember, as I mentioned, that already coming into the White House as the first convicted criminal president of the United States. So he's been down and out in the last 4 years. He's fighting a lot of legal cases. So yes, there's every expectation that he might be transactional, but then he might also be more vengeful, right? He might be out to exact revenge on his political enemies. He might be more focused on that. And the other thing that I raised to U.S. Ambassador MaryKay Carlson when we were doing the interview was that, not an interview, but like an ambush interview, was what the broader implications for security within the Indo-Pacific will be should either candidate win, because there is a question of what will happen to Taiwan. So a few weeks ago, I don't know if it's just big talk, but former President Trump had suggested that Taiwan should pay for its own protection, right? So there's already that distancing happening there. There's already the suggestion that, okay, well, maybe we won't take care of Taiwan as well as, the other side might. So there's nuances around that. And I think at the end of the day, we won't really know. So the Ambassador Carlson's answer to me was, again, the U.S. remains very committed to the Indo-Pacific. The security architecture should not change regardless of who takes the White House. And she came back to the idea that there is very strong bipartisan support in Congress for a stronger relationship with the ASEAN region, with the Indo-Pacific.
Can I ask one thing? Regina, did you ask about immigration and visa? If it's going to be harder if Trump wins? But I think that's more personal, right? For a lot of us, right? Who have families in the U.S. or want to migrate to the U.S. or visit the U.S. or have to renew their visa soon, right? I think that's a more concrete, tangible, because if we get the Trump, which is stronger on immigration, more draconian, or what I'm seeing from Stephen Miller and some of the folks, Project 2025, etc. I'm saying a lot of our Filipino friends are overexcited about a potential Trump. Make sure you have your visas for the next 10 years, or you got your TNT status fixed as soon as possible, right?
Yeah,
that's a very tangible issue.
Amongst the Phil-Ams too, right? As Jovi was telling us.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's about time to rethink
your priorities. I'm just saying.
That's
on a personal level.
It's too late to hedge. It's too late to hedge. The numbers will tell us the winner in a few short hours or days. It's yeah.
Too early to
just
call.
gotta
Too
take
early
it
to
as it
call.
comes.
Yeah.
But there's so much to talk about, so
Yes.
much updates going on that I'd like to share. But for now, we'll leave it at that. Enjoy yourself, Regina,
Yes, we're
and
gonna let you go for now.
bask in the ambience of tension.
Yeah, look at my hat.
Yes.
Hey,
My
get
fun
me
hat.
one. They owe me
Get
one. They owe me one.
It's falling
I
apart, though.
sacrifice.
Anyway,
Yeah, that looks better. Yeah.
thank you for that, One
Thank
News
you.
anchor, for that interaction, Regina Lay,
At the U.S. Embassy.
at the U.S. Embassy.